Hi, everybody. Welcome to our program. This is English Digest. It's great to have you with us. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're going to continue talking about predatory tales of the world's lost islands. Okay, well, the islands are out there. They're remote. I don't think they got lost. Islands can't really move unless you're talking about continental drift or something like that. But in any case, this is all about these remote islands that David Salmoni travels to try to answer some questions. Last time we talked about him traveling to Rangiroa, which is a French Polynesian island in the South Pacific Ocean, and he was trying to figure out an answer to the question, why do so many sharks congregate there? It turns out they're just hungry, getting something to eat because of the lagoon and the nutrients and stuff like that. Now, in today's program, he's going to go someplace else, right?
He is. He's going to go to a place we're calling the Falkland Islands. This place is home to a lot of animal species, different types of animals, including something called an elephant seal. So we're going to follow him, see what his mission is. I'm not going to tell you yet what it is, and see if he's able to find the answer to his question or solve the mystery of that particular lost island. I don't think the Falkland Islands are lost, but we're going to find out why he goes there and if he leaves those islands with his curiosity satisfied, you could say. Right now, guys, we're going to read through our lesson first, and then we'll be back to talk about some of these phrases and vocabulary words with you. The stormy Falkland Islands are home to many animal species, including the elephant seal. Lately, however, the seals have started disappearing at an alarming rate. Salmoni's mission is to discover what's causing so many elephant seals to vanish without a trace. He quickly grasps that killer whales, or orcas, are the likely culprit. However, elephant seals have always been prey for these ferocious hunters. So it seems strange that orcas are solely responsible for their sudden disappearance. To find out what's going on, Salmoni braves the elements and camps out near an elephant seal nursery. Toward dawn, he notices some new and unusual behavior from the killer whales. A female orca and her calves have discovered they can use the high tide to swim into the shallow bay, where the seal pups lie unattended. As the pups are easy prey, the orcas have their fill. Salmoni travels next to the northeast Pacific Ocean in search of the harsh, mountainous Admiralty Island. The island is notorious for its estimated 1,600 grizzly bears. Salmoni can't wait to find out why they opt to live here instead of the mainland, where there's much more wildlife to prey on. The mystery's unraveled as he travels deep into the forest. No matter which way he treks, he comes across a river or stream teeming with salmon. The rivers and salmon are so abundant that the bears are able to live without competition. His curiosity satisfied, Salmoni moves on to his next adventure. To find out where he heads next, tune in to Animal Planet's Mystery of the Lost Islands this March.
Okay, everybody, let's talk about today's lesson in detail. Again, we're talking about predatory tales of the world's lost islands. Well, remember last time we were in the South Pacific. Now we are in the South Atlantic Ocean, just off the coast of Argentina. The stormy Falkland Islands are home to many animal species, including the elephant seal. Now, you may know the Falkland Islands were in the news a number of years ago because they were involved in a short little war between Britain and Argentina. Argentina claims those islands, whereas they still belong to the UK. But we're not talking about politics today. We're actually talking about the elephant seal. If you happen to go to the Falkland Islands, you might go check out the elephant seal. But Well, they've been having a little bit of a problem there. You might want to hurry because it says lately, however, the seals have started disappearing at an alarming rate, which is bad news for the elephant seals. They're kind of disappearing. Where are they going? They seem to be dying out.
Yeah, they sure do. If you're alarmed, it means you're frightened, you're a little worried, you're scared. And the speed at which they're disappearing is happening quite quickly. So it's a fast rate. It's a rate or speed that scares you. Well, Salmoni, our host, he makes it his mission to discover what's causing so many of these elephant seals to vanish without a trace. If you vanish, you disappear completely. And we add those 3 words, without a trace, after vanish, just to emphasize there are no clues left behind as to where you've gone or, how you disappeared or why you disappeared. You're just gone. So it's kind of hard to find someone if they disappear without a trace. Now, he quickly grasps that killer whales or orcas, another name for the killer whales, they're the likely culprit. If you grasp something, you know the definition that just means you take hold of something. But here we're not talking about literally using your hand to grab something. Here it means he understands. So his mind can take hold of the reason why this is happening. Why are those little seals disappearing?
Yep, he understands this pretty quickly that the orcas or killer whales, they're the same thing. They're the likely culprit. The culprit, of course, is the thing that's causing the problem. For example, last week I had a flat tire and I tried to figure out why my tire went flat. There's the culprit. A little piece of glass got caught in the rubber and therefore my tire went flat. That was the culprit. So here, these orcas or killer whales, he thinks they are the culprit. He's not exactly sure why, but he does some further investigation and figures out exactly why those seals are disappearing at an alarming rate.
Well, however, elephant seals have always been prey for these ferocious hunters. So, we've always had these killer whales trying to kill the elephant seals. What's different this time? Why are they actually disappearing at a faster rate or speed than before? If you're talking about something or somebody that is ferocious, you're saying they're almost like a wild beast. They're really fierce. They're savage. They're very cruel or violent. They're very extreme, you could say. When these killer whales find the little seals, you don't want to watch what happens. It's pretty awful the way they kill them. They're ferocious or very intense hunters. So it says here, it seems strange that orcas are solely responsible for their sudden disappearance. Solely here means only. There are no other reasons or no other culprits, just these orcas. There's got to be something else that's making them disappear, not just the orcas, right?
Yeah, not just them. There must be something else responsible. There must be something else causing this problem. And to find out what's going on, Salmoni braves the elements and camps out near an elephant seal nursery. If we talk about the elements in this particular case, we're talking about the open air, the weather. So if you brave the elements during a typhoon, for example, you're going out when the wind is blowing really hard and it's raining really hard. It's very dangerous out there. Or where I'm from, where it's, winter, you could be braving the elements if you're a mailman delivering mail during a blizzard or a snowstorm or something like that. So he decides to camp out outside near an elephant seal nursery. And a nursery, of course, is a place where babies are being taken care of. You can have them for humans as well. That's why we have nursery rhymes, little rhymes for little kids. Little Jack Horner sat in a corner, etc. That's a short version of a nursery rhyme there. But in any case here, it's a nursery where these little baby elephant seals are kind of growing up.
It's true. Now, toward dawn, that's when the sun rises, the start of the day. Toward dawn, he notices some new and unusual behavior from the killer whales. So I guess he's pretty familiar with orcas. He already knows what their typical behavior or actions consist of. But now he's seeing some behavior from them that he's not used to seeing. And so it kind of gives him some clues about what's happening. What does he see? Well, he sees a female orca and her calves, her baby killer whales. We call baby whales calves, just like we do baby cows or calves as well. Notice here, this is the plural form of the word calf. So the singular form of calves is calf. So notice it's kind of a word that you have to change when it becomes plural. She's got her little babies, and they've discovered they can use the high tide to swim into the shallow bay where the seal pups lie unattended. Oh, they're using their powers of observation. So when the high tide comes in, it allows those whales to come up further into the bay. A bay is an area of more shallow ocean water. It's not very deep there, but they can stay just long enough to grab those poor little pups. We're calling little baby seals pups, not puppies, but pups, right? Yep. They're puppies too. They can just grab them while no one's watching them. No one is taking care of them. Their mothers are probably out trying to find food for them.
Yeah, they're down at the shopping mall or something, chatting with their friends, having coffee.
Buying some new shoes, yeah.
Stuff like that. But yes, they are lying there unattended. You could also say that they are sitting ducks, even though they're not really ducks. But a sitting duck is basically anything that is just sitting there with no protection and is probably going to be attacked. So yes, these little pups are just lying there. The mothers are helpless. And so those orcas and their calves they go in there and have a smorgasbord. They have themselves a little bit of a feast there.
Yeah.
And that's probably why the elephant seals are vanishing at an alarming rate. So the next sentence goes on to say, as the pups are easy prey, or because the pups are easy prey, the orcas have their fill. This is a phrase here that means you get enough to eat. Did you get your fill, or did you have your fill? In other words, did you get enough to eat? Indeed, the little baby orcas and the mother, of course, chow down on these little baby pups, and their tummies are nice and full.
Yeah, you can also use have your fill to talk about being frustrated with something or some situation or even a person. And you can say, oh, I have had my fill of them. I'm out of here. I can't take it anymore. We use it that way as well. Here we're just saying, as Tom said, they're nice and full. They're stuffed from eating all those tasty little seal
morsels
pups.
Of seal meat, yeah.
It's very sad because they're so cute.
Yeah, but orcas don't appreciate little baby seals the way humans do. So I guess I'm imagining here that they probably try to do something about that. Maybe they put up some kind of seawall or something.
A fence.
Could be something like that.
Yeah.
To protect those baby seals, and they can start growing up just like any other seal, and they can replenish the population there on the Falkland Islands. Okay, we're going to continue talking about some other remote islands in the world, especially one in the Northeast Pacific Ocean. But please stay tuned. We're going to take a time out now and listen to our Chinese teacher.
大家好，我是 Sunny， 欢迎收听今天的 English Digest。我们今天要继续阅读第3单元动物星球频道的第2天课程。文章第1段提到主持人 Salmoni 来到常有暴风雨的 Falkland Islands 福克兰群岛，他想探索为何这个岛上的 Elephant Seal 海象为何会大批的消失无影无踪。他一开始认为是杀人鲸造成的。我们看到这一段的第5句。However, elephant seals have always been prey for these ferocious hunters, so it seems strange that orcas are solely responsible for their sudden disappearance. 然而，海象一直以来都是这些凶猛狩猎者的猎物，所以虎鲸是造成海象突然消失的唯一缘由这件事似乎很奇怪。我们看到这里的一个名词 prey， 意思是被捕食的动物，猎物。要注意它是不可数名词，所以不能加 s， 也不能搭配不定冠词 a。片语 fall prey to somebody or something 是指 成为某人事物的猎物，或引申为受到某人事物的侵害。例如 Homeless children in this city often fall prey to drug dealers. 这个城市无家可归的孩子通常成为毒贩的受害者。此外 prey 也可以当动词， prey on something or somebody 可以用来指捕猎某生物为食，或是引申为欺负某人。例如 Cats usually prey on birds and mice. 猫通常捕猎鸟类和老鼠为食。而 prey 另外一个常见的片语 prey on one's mind 则是指使某人一直担心或耿耿于怀。例如 The viewer's harsh criticism of his performance preyed on Jack's mind. 观众对于其表演的严厉批评使杰克耿耿于怀。同样在这一句里有一个形容词 responsible 意思是负责的。片语 be responsible for 有以下3种常见的意思。第一个意思是 having a duty to be in charge of or to look after somebody or something 是指有义务来负责或照顾某人事物。例如 Lucy is responsible for recruiting and training new employees. 露西负责招募和训练新员工。第二个意思是 If someone is responsible for an accident, mistake, crime, and so on, it is their fault. 也就是为某个事故或是错误负起责任，因为自己有过错。例如The police believe that the drunk driver was responsible for this car accident. 警方相信这名酒醉的驾驶要为这起车祸事故负责。最后 be responsible for 的第3个常见意思是 If something is responsible for a change, problem, event, and so on, it causes it. 也就是指造成某个改变、问题或事件的起因。例如 The earthquake was responsible for the tsunami that claimed hundreds of lives. 这场地震引起夺走数百条人命的海啸。我们接着看到下一句，也就是这一段的第6句，这里有一个片语 brave the elements. Brave 在这里是当作动词来用，意思是指勇敢面对难处理的事物。本课的片语 brave the elements 是指Go out in bad weather. 在天气很糟的时候外出。我们再举个例子。Even though it was raining heavily, they braved the elements and went out for dinner. 尽管下着大雨，他们不顾坏天气，外出用餐。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
It is time now for us to resume our lesson for today. Again, we're talking about the adventures of Mr. Dave Salmoni in the program Mystery of the Lost Islands, which is airing on Animal Planet. And last time we talked about him going to an island in the South Pacific, and also today we talked about him going to the Falkland Islands. Well, now let's travel to the Northeast Pacific Ocean, which would be along the coast of North America there, probably Alaska or Canada, British Columbia there. Actually, he's going to an island there called Admiralty Island, which is part of Alaska. So let's get to it here. Let's talk about what he discovers there. The first sentence in the following paragraph begins by saying, Salmoni travels next to the Northeast Pacific Ocean, okay, in search of the harsh, mountainous Admiralty Island. So if you describe something as being harsh, that means it is not particularly pleasant or comfortable. Maybe some kinds of food could be very harsh, for example. In this particular case, though, it's rugged terrain. It's very difficult to walk on this island. So it is a harsh, mountainous island. Probably no trails there. And it's very difficult to get along, or get around, rather. And it's mountainous, too. It's got lots of of mountains there. That's probably one reason why it is so harsh.
Yeah, it's probably hard just to walk and get from one place to another because it is so mountainous and harsh. Harsh makes me think, probably it's not very comfortable. Maybe I don't want to go. So the island is notorious for its estimated 1,600 grizzly bears. You can also say that number 1,600, but I encourage all of our listeners to start trying to learn the alternative way to pronounce these numbers because most Americans like to say things as quickly as possible, and I will never say this word or this number 1,600. I would always say 1,600. For sure.
That's the quicker way to say
it.
If
something's notorious, guys, it just means it's very well known, but for bad reasons. A lot of criminals, you'll often see them described in news stories or in papers as being notorious. So they are famous, but not because they did something good or people like them. Usually it's for more negative things that someone is famous for, notorious. So why are they so famous? They've got an estimated 1,600 grizzly bears living there. Estimated means we're not sure of the exact figure. No one can say for sure how many, but it's around this number. You could say they're famous for having around 1,600 grizzly bears. So that's a lot of bears to have on an island.
Yeah, they just don't know the number because every person who goes there to try to count them isn't alive to talk about it anymore.
The bears kill them and eat them.
Yeah, of course, I don't think they really do that, but they use other methods to estimate the number of grizzly bears on this island. It's an estimate, it's an educated guess. And so they're estimating that there are about 1,600 grizzly bears, which again is a species of North American bear that is especially ferocious. It's especially fierce. You don't want to run into them in the islands or in the forests, wherever they might be hanging out. Now, Salmoni can't wait to find out why they opt to live here instead of the mainland, where there's much more wildlife to prey on. So yes, indeed, this is an island that is part of Alaska, but it's an island. It's not actually part of the mainland of North America there. And he's wondering, why would they want to hang out on an island when they could be hanging out on the mainland there, where there are tons and tons of things to eat? Why would anyone want to hang out on an island when you can actually be on a much bigger piece of real estate?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at first. If you opt to, it's a way to choose to do something. Notice that opt is part of the word option. If you have options, you have choices. So that's a way to remember what that verb phrase means, to opt to do something. So why is it that they choose to live there? Well, there's more wildlife to prey on if they go to the mainland. But here in the next sentence, we discover the answer to this mystery. It says here, the mystery's unraveled as he travels deep into the forest. If something unravels, it comes apart. It's no longer together. For example, your sweaters are made of different pieces of yarn. And if you cut it or hurt it in some way, sometimes those pieces of yarn, those strings will unravel and come apart. So what's part of this mystery? Well, he finds out that no matter which way he treks or climbs or goes, he comes across a river or stream teeming with salmon. So it doesn't matter which way he hikes or goes. Treks gives you this idea that the walk that you are making is kind of tough. It's very harsh. You need hiking boots if you want to trek anywhere. He comes across a lot of rivers and streams, and they're all teeming with salmon. Salmon's that wonderful fish with kind of the orange-pink flesh that you can eat. Teeming with something means it's got a lot of that thing. It's swarming with that thing, or there's a lot of that thing inside it. There's a bountiful amount of salmon, so there are tons and tons of salmon in all the streams and rivers he comes across.
Yep, I could say that the Taipei 101 area teems with millions of people who have come to watch the fireworks on New Year's Eve. In this particular case, though, this is a stream, a small river, that is just full of salmon. Salmon, of course, is guiyu in Chinese. It's a kind of fish that has sort of red or orange meat there, and bears just love salmon. Remember, salmon is both singular and plural there. And the rivers and salmon are so abundant that the bears are able to live without competition. So if something is abundant, you have a lot of that thing. There is enough of it. You don't need to worry about starving or stuff like that. You could say, we had an abundant harvest this year.
Ooh, that's a good harvest if you have lots and lots of things that you can harvest to eat. So it was so abundant that the bears, hey, they were happy to live there without competition. Typically, bears have to fight over their prey. Maybe they're both hunting after one particular deer, for example. There's only that one deer, so they're both fighting over it. Here, there's so many salmon that they can catch with their claws. Bears are very good at fishing. If you've never seen them catch salmon, you've got to look up on the internet and watch some of the video. It's kind of crazy. But they use those big paws of theirs that have claws, those sharp nails, to catch their salmon. Now, his curiosity, it says, is satisfied. Your curiosity is just, the questions that you have in your mind. Why is this the case? Why is this true? If you've been around toddlers, they say why all the time. Why? If your curiosity is satisfied, you find the answers to your questions. So, Salmoni's going to move on to his next adventure. In order to find out where he's going next, though, you guys are going to have to tune in to Animal Planet's Mystery of the Lost Islands. It's on TV in March.
And we got you started here. We've introduced the program to you, so the rest is up to you. Watch it and enjoy and improve your English listening skills. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom and she's Stephanie. But before we say goodbye formally, we're going to listen once again to our Chinese teacher.
解开了福克兰群岛的谜题后，主持人 Salmoni 接着前往另外一个多山的岛屿，叫做阿德莫勒尔蒂岛。这个岛因为居住了1600多只的灰熊而恶名昭彰。但是为什么这些灰熊会选择住在岛上，而不是住在大陆上呢？我们看到第二段的倒数第4句 No matter which way he treks, he comes across a river or stream teeming with salmon. 不管他跋涉至何处，他都能发现一条充满鲑鱼的河流或小溪。句型 no matter 加上 WH 疑问词是用来表示不管、无论的意思，后面引导一个副词子句，再接主要子句。此时 no matter WH 疑问词就相当于 WH 疑问词再加上 ever。例如 no matter who就相当于 whoever， no matter what 就等于 whatever， no matter where 就等于 wherever。例如 whatever your parents said, they probably meant no harm by it。 不论你父母说了什么，他们或许都没有恶意。接着我们看到同一句有一个片语叫做 team with， 动词 team 有充满的意思，片语 team with somebody or something 就是指充满了某人事物。例如 The scenic spot is teeming with tourists， 这个景点充满了游客。以上为今天的课程，谢谢大家收听。
That's it for today. Thanks for joining us, and make sure you join us again next time for another edition of our program. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.